a teacher at Massa Primary School. They will share some insights on the current state of literacy in Botswana, the impact of the adopted class program, and practical solutions for improving reading skills among young learners. A very good afternoon, ladies, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon, thank you.
Of course. First and foremost, Bonolo, let's just get to understand more about Lowapi Study Centre.
Lowapi Study Centre is an educational consultancy that deals with learners with learning differences, especially dyslexia, which is a reading disability. But you find that a learner may have a reading difficulty, which is different from a reading disability, but it might mask itself as if it's dyslexia up until the child is assessed, diagnosed, and so forth. So you find that sometimes a child can have a reading difficulty for many reasons, including environmental issues. Has this child been taught how to read? And that can cause a child to have a reading difficulty.
Right, right. And you know, prior to our discussion, just during research, one of the things that cropped up in my mind was the fact that maybe we may see that a decline in literacy in Botswana because of such things. Maybe not being able to, you know, identify, diagnose all of these, you know, cognitive disorders or whatever case it may be early on, and having a way to deal with them, which could ultimately improve, you know, the state of literacy in Botswana. Ms. Boitshwarelo, as you know, a primary school teacher on the ground, maybe if you could share with us, you know, some of your experiences that you've had in the classroom in terms of, you know, improving literacy and just the state in general of literacy. Thank you
very much. Our education system in our program, we do breakthrough to Botswana, offering at standard 1, is doing so very well. But now when it comes to reading English, it's always a challenge. We've been trained under different levels, but we were not taught how to teach reading. So the literacy in schools, especially primary, is a problem. It's really touching. So from my experience, it is key to teach children to read. To read. It is not basic. It is not done accordingly. It's not done.
Right.
So it's a crisis. You find that, like right now, I am head of department for learning difficulties. You know, we were just promoted onto the post, not even taken on board on how you're going to deal with these learners.
Some sort of training.
Yeah, some sort of training in service training. I get it was not done, but now we end up, you know, meeting teacher Bonolo, researching on how you can teach these, because it's now your whole a responsibility to see to it that you bring a difference to these poor kids who can't even read. And it's not our fault most of the time. You may do screening at your level and try to compromise, bring some stuff that would use to teach them read. So literacy really is a problem.
It's a big problem.
It's a big problem.
And just one thing that I did pick from what you were saying, Ms. Boitshwarelo, is that lack of training for the staff is one big gap that exists within our education system that could, if attended to, could help, you know, improve academic performance as a whole. Because
definitely,
you know, and
if I just chip into that teacher training, I have done special education. I was trained at the University of Botswana, special education, specializing in learning disabilities and English. And I was not taught to teach reading at the University of Botswana. It's something that I gained afterwards on my own, doing my research and getting training for teaching reading. So teachers in the tertiary education institutions are not taught how to teach reading at all, no matter the level. Yeah.
I want us to now get into talking about, you know, the adopted classroom program,
Yes,
how it fits in, and is helping improve or try to bridge this gap that exists?
Yeah. So our plan as Lowapi is to start conversations around issues of literacy in whatever way. We are trying to draw attention to the fact that this is a crisis. We have a crisis. When you look at the PSLE, JCE, BGCSE results, we are seeing this decline, which we have seen over the years. And in my experience, in my observations over the years, I've realized that a lot of children are failing because they struggle to read, because they are not taught to. There's no intentionalism from the curriculum, from the teacher's point of view, to be able to teach them how to read. And so we always try to come up with ways to ignite or start this conversation around reading. That's how the adopted class program started. Back in 2023, we went to Masa Primary School. We knocked on their doors and they welcomed us because we had been working with them over a number of years, just giving workshops to parents and teachers, right? And we decided to adopt one class, which was a standard 3 class, the class taught by Mama Boitshwarelo. And we took it for a period of about 6 to 8 weeks, and we were just using structured science of reading based program in order to teach them how to read, because you see, we can't assume that every child will grasp reading. It's very few. Even research shows that a lot of students do need to be taught how to read. And so we took that class, and that is how we started that. It is just to prove, to show that it actually can be done. We just need to resource the teachers. And so this was our way to try to get the attention, besides giving back to the community, but to try to start that conversation to say it can be done.
Right.
We are failing our kids. Our system is failing the kids because we're not teaching the kids how to read. And so 2023, we
Or
adopted...
even facilitating the teachers on
Yes.
how to teach, children how to read.
Yes, ma'am. So 2023, we adopted a class called Masa Primary School as the 3 class. She's here to tell us how it helped them. 2024, we adopted a class at Siamo Primary School. And then this year, we have adopted a standard 2 class at Segoditane Primary School. And the sad part is we do start these conversations, but it seems like they just end and there's no continuity in saying what is the root cause and what can we do about it and how can you help us. But it is a crisis, like she did say.
Because until we get to the root cause, then we're going to be moving in circles over and over again, and just scratching off the surface and not with no depth to what we're trying to do. Ms. Boitshwarelo, I'd like for you to perhaps just testify on how adopted class program was able to help you as a teacher, from your perspective as a teacher, and also help your students as well in terms of improving the literacy skills.
Thank you very much. It has really worked wonders, Ma. It has worked wonders. Those 6 weeks did a great difference to the class. We had came up with this strategy of screening bana and grouping them according to their abilities. So I took that class that was struggling in reading. Those who did standard 1 during COVID time, they were not actually taught accordingly. Yes, so they lacked a lot of things, hence their performance really was down. So this strategy of adopting a class, I was just fortunate enough for everybody they got into my class, and it has worked. I have seen improvement in children. I've seen interest. Learners are very happy to be able to read just the piece of information for themselves. They loved it. I could see a great difference.
Wow.
Even the academic results, they improved a lot. Those who were shy in doing, one would not even be interested to read. But now, after having grabbed some sounds, how this word is called, how this word is read, how this word is written, it really made them, even proud of themselves. They would go reading everything in front of the office, whatever text they see, it develops interest. They become fluent. it really made, they loved the program. The kids loved it. The parents loved it so much. It needs a lot of commitment, even by the parents.
Right.
I've observed a lot. Even myself, I learned a lot from the program. I've learned a lot, the skills that I have to apply now in the other classes. Because that class is now in Standard 5, and the teacher is so impressive about how they are performing in reading. You know, just reading, knowing words, being able to read, it's key. Even if you know the words and you can't comprehend at that stage, and it comes in, keep on practicing, you are now going to comprehend. You'll be having the interest of knowing what is this text talking about, and then that's when you build the interest.
And you know, it's quite interesting that you say that, because I have a Standard 1 son, and he's been learning how to read new words. I see how excited he gets when he's reading. Now he reads everything. He'll pick any book in the house, start reading, and it is so interesting watching just that, and you know, unraveling, and how excited they get when they learn how to read, which in turn just ends up improving the overall performance in class, just like you have said. You know, Bonolo, can you share with us, you know, some of the key things that, or strategies that you have employed in the strategy that makes it so exciting for the kids to learn how to read, and to make it not seem like it's quite a, you know, a difficult task that they can't really take on?
You see, reading is a science. Reading is a science, but again, on top of that, reading is a human right. I often say, you talk about the joy that is a child shows when they learn to read. I often say reading is that thing that gives you the freedom to interact with the world around you. We often think of reading just as having an importance so that we pass, but it's more than that. It's giving you a chance to engage with the world around you, and just it gives you a sort of privacy, a sort of, you know, that seriti, you know. And so reading is a science in that we have to study the human brain and understand that reading is something that is man-made, unlike speaking. Speaking is something that is natural. Our brain and we are born with the skill of speaking. We pick it around our environment. But reading is something that came with men. And the reading part comes from a different part of the brain. And we have to have an understanding that when we are talking about reading, we're talking about different things. We're talking about the sounds. We're talking about the letters. Once the sounds and the letters come together, which is called phonics, firstly, we start with phonological awareness. Can you understand and hear how many sounds are in a word? If I say flat, how many sounds are in there? There are 4, and therefore I expect to see 4 characters. When we move from phonological awareness, we are now going to the part of phonics, where we're looking at the relationship. Or the letter C, which I use when I'm writing, when I'm speaking, I pronounce it as K. And so that has to be taught. We teach rules. We teach English according to rules. For instance, we have what we call the CK rule. When do I use a C and a K together in duck? And why do I use a K for kid and not a C? Those are rules. And it takes the guesswork away from reading.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That is so interesting. You know, it's just, you're answering a lot of questions that I've been having in my head, that, you know, every time that kids read, they'll make those sounds first, and then the whole word.
They blend it, yes.
And so that is how you teach
reading
it, you know,
should
how
be
reading
taught.
should be taught.
Yes.
Right, right. Now let's get your, you know, your opinion, Ms. Motlogelwa, on, you know, education, a basic education, you know, infusing such initiatives and programs like Adopt a Class program into the learning system, into the syllabus, as a way of improving overall academic performance in Botswana.
With what she's been saying, it's exactly what we need. It's you would love to hear my kids after the 6-8 weeks. You would love to hear them reading. Even if you can visit Masa tomorrow and get an experience. This is what we actually need. Our government is really failing us. It is failing our kids to read. If this program could be part of the training system, at least one school operation having such, somebody having gone through this training and teaching how to read, literacy wouldn't be a problem in schools, because it goes, sometimes there are a lot of kids in standard 7, sitting for standard 7, for JCE, who can't even read for themselves. We end up taking the kids to psychologists. They would be saying she needs scribe and whatever, you know, and somebody would be reading for this poor kid, from what she's been taught, she grasped the whole content. But now, because she can't read for herself, she end up failing, not doing very well, you know. And we really need this. From my experience, we need this. There's nothing much we can do at our level unless we have this skill. We need this program.
Right, right.
We need it.
And Bonolo, you know, just your 2 cents in this, you know, this topic of discussion. And if you have you been able to, you know, get in talks with the ministry to infuse your program full-time and full force within the education system?
You know, we are still trying to get a seat at the table to have such discussions. Last year, as I said, we keep on trying to see how we can better the conversation of literacy. Last year, we held the first international conference, the Africa Reading Conference, as Lowapi Study Centre. We brought in international, regional, local speakers to come and discuss these issues around literacy. And so, we have set out the table, they'll find us. Yeah, because this is the thing, every year, if you look at the provisional summary of results, yeah, that's what it's called, and then you go to the section of English, it says 60 to 80 students go into the PSLE exam not able to write a basic simple sentence. A basic simple sentence is the cat sits on the mat. Whatnot and whatnot. Let me give you an example.
Just in 30 seconds.
Yes, in 30 seconds. I was years ago, I was given a standard 2 class. And topic where most standard 2 cultural studies give physical abuse. Yes, physical abuse, emotional abuse. Mwana ga khona go bala cat, wa rabale go physical. I itse gore PHY makes the sound faith.
Oh my.
That's what's happening in our schools. Yeah.
That just raises a red alarm. That this is a crisis that needs to be dealt with as soon as possible, you know, for the future of our nation.
Of the nation.
It really does depend on this. That is all the time that we did have. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
All right, there we have it. That was Ms. Bonolo Boitshwarelo, founder of Lowapi Study Centre, and Ms. Gracious Mutlogelwa from Massa Primary School on the topic of the Adopt a Classroom program that the Lowapi Study Centre has embarked on, or has started or founded, in order to improve the literacy state right here in Botswana. Stay tuned for the news at the top of the hour.
Physical violence is the most prevalent form of violation suffered by children in Botswana, with 28.4 female and 43.0 male children having suffered physical violation.